the girls of hip hop, Missy Elliott.
So I too am the beneficiary of affirmative action, but it does not mean that I was not. Oh, here you go again. I thought we left that potato salad back in the last episode.
For Memorial.
What you say? What you talking about, Willis?
Okay.
This is a special post-Democratic National Convention episode of the All Rev'd Up podcast, and I'm Reverend Emmett Price.
And I'm Reverend Irene Monroe.
Before we jump into our conversation on Vice President Kamala Harris and Coach Tim Walz, the seated governor of Minnesota, let us thank each of our listeners and viewers. Even during a special episode, we are mindful that we are here because of you. Thank you for listening to us on the various podcast apps and for watching the actual live recording of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support, your encouragement, your feedback, your reviews, and your comments. Thank you so much for sharing the podcast with others.
And a tsunami of thanks to our loyal listeners and a hearty welcome to our new ones. You have given us a foundation, a sense of purpose, and thank you for every compliment you have given us.
On behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
On Thursday, August 22nd, 2024, the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Devi Harris, formally accepted the nomination as the Democratic nominee for president. The 49-year-old from Oakland, California, who is of Indian and Afro-Jamaican descent and who identifies as a Black woman, has inspired a renaissance within the Democratic Party and perhaps more importantly, within the nation, recovering hope for some and invoking joy in many. After a star-studded convention that reintroduced Harris, reframed the entire election narrative, and welcome to the team, Coach Walz. This convention was historic. Irene, I am interested in your thoughts, especially with the invocation of one of your inspirations, Representative Shirley Anita Chisholm of Brooklyn, the first Black woman elected to Congress and the first Black candidate to seek the Democratic nomination for president.
Oh, Emmett, I am feeling joy. Joy, joy, joy. And I know that my former Congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm, is smiling down on this moment because I need to say this. I was rather despondent. I wasn't happy about rolling into the DNC. I would definitely in November, was going to give a perfunctory vote for a candidate that was DOA, dead on arrival. I no longer feel like I'm on the Titanic. I'm cautiously, of course, optimistic, but I've never seen the DNC get their act together so quickly and be unified. I'm happy because Obama was the president of hope. Kamala is the president of joy, and I'm speaking in the affirmative because I just feel in the marrows of my bone that she will win. And I also believe that the Democrats might be able to take the House. I need to just say this. Now, this is a truism, this cliche that timing is everything. For Kamala Harris, no other time would she be so uniquely positioned and overwhelmingly nominated as the Democratic nominee for the president. I mean, really, when you think about how, ooh, how disorganized the cacophony of voices and dissensions that can just come out of this Democratic, pot, I am just so happy for this moment. And we got to remember this, a little history here. There was talk that when we were revving up for this DNC, there was talk about removing Kamala from the ticket.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
It was the whole idea that nobody knew her. People were hinting that she was a DEI hire.
Mm-hmm.
And then certainly not Trump would say the reason why she is a DEI hire because she's not in her black job. VP is not her black job. But I just got to say this, which is just wonderful. So we got to backpedal. So Saturday, I remember because I was in P-Town. So Saturday, July 20th, Vice President Kamala was stumping for Biden. It was the Biden Victory Fund, and so it was all this LGBTQ people out there. The mayor was there, just everybody was there, and on the 21st, that was a Sunday. That was a 180 turn, 24 hours when Biden finally said that he was leaving the race. And the interesting thing is that we were welcoming Kamala to P-Town, so we've put VP Town, but now we can say literally P-Town because she's the top person on the ticket. And I need to say this, and we talked about this a little bit, but that day, that evening, there was over 40,000 sisters on this Zoom,
That's right.
raising money
That's
for
right.
Kamala. We raised over, I think, $1.5 million, and
Mm-hmm.
TV personality Star Jones was the campaign chair of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
just can't tell you how excited I was. And watching the DNC was wonderful. I mean, she was great, but I want to tell you, the Obamas were wonderful. And I have just two zings that I love from the night of Tuesday night with Michelle. She said that Donald Trump is the product of affirmative action of generational wealth. But the real one was and she just went on and said that the job he is currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs. How you like that?
Hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to go back to, your chronology because there was the Saturday that you mentioned you were in P-Town and
Mm-hmm.
then the pivot on the Sunday, the 180.
That's right.
And when the 180 happened, we were waiting for Biden to actually endorse Kamala Harris. Remember that? And we had to wait for that, right? So there was the Monday and then the Tuesday. And once you all, who are always at the forefront, right, of any movement, once the sisters had that conference call, I mean, that even began a catalyst for momentum. The
Yeah.
brothers showed up the next day, right
That's
after,
right. That's right.
and then you had the white boys for Kamala, the white women for I mean, you've had a series, the black
Republican
preacher, the
for
Republicans for,
Kamala.
and so to think about the DNC, where you had all of those different intersectional representations of Republicans up there. I mean, when they had the call out for the various states, Little John coming all the way down the steps from the second.
The roll
What
call was on the money. You had listen. I was dancing. I mean, that playlist
wasn't
was
that cool?
divine. Absolutely. Listen, this is the only time I like the song "Sweet Alabama" when they called Alabama.
Sweet home, Alabama.
Okay,
I
"Sweet
mean,
Home Alabama."
you
Okay,
had the actors from Scandal. I mean,
that's
you
right,
had,
and
Olivia Pope,
that's right.
Kerry Washington. I mean, it was just amazing. And so for me, as an independent for 20 plus years, I am so excited. I'm so excited that I wore my paraphernalia shirt because that is my
All
dear
right.
sorority sister,
I love it.
Soror
I
Kamala
love
Harris
it.
of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am so just moved. I am so excited, overjoyed, so hopeful.
Yeah.
Because you're right. The previous situation was not one that was
Was
it wasn't
woo.
exciting. I mean, it reminds me of 2016, Irene, and not that she was running, but Michelle Obama was my candidate in 2016.
Yeah. A-
And boy, did she show up at the DNC,
She
as you mentioned
absolutely.
already.
But what I like about it is that, yeah, for the independents, Oprah came out on that Wednesday night,
Hmm.
okay, to speak to you folks, which I was, again, just absolutely overjoyed. Now, let me just tell you this, and a whole lot of us sisters that were on that call that Sunday of July 21st. Now, we need to say this, and I said this to you recently. Had we known girlfriend was going to be on the top of the ticket. Now, many of us would have been in Chicago, but
Yeah,
I couldn't get there because of
yeah,
the price gouging that
yeah,
was going
yeah,
on. $1,000 a night for a B&B, because
yeah.
the hotels were just all booked. That just wasn't happening. I was also a little apprehensive, and this is to bring back history. 1968 Chicago.
Yeah,
And
Chicago.
that bothered me because I worried about safety. We
Yeah,
saw that there was an assassination attempt on Trump.
right.
And in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in Chicago. And I just said, oh
Hmm.
my God, is this an omen? Whatever. But everything turned out just absolutely beautiful. Now the question is this: will people really come out? Do you think, okay, Emmett, this is to you. You got young Gen Zs, right? They're Gen Zs, I think.
Hmm.
Will they
Hmm.
come out and vote? So all the folks that I knew were not coming out for Biden. I almost wasn't. Where are they? Because that's important. We need their participation.
Yeah, momentum flows. And as the energy continues to pick up steam and pick up stream, I think folks join in. You know, the DNC was so amazing because the energy was high every night. And even post DNC, all the conversations continue to keep the energy high. And this is one of the exciting things about the transition happening so late. As some of the commenters say, folks plan for that speech, a year ahead, and people plan for, the rollout of commercials and rollout of posters and all that kind of stuff. She had what, like 100 days or something like that,
That's right. That's right.
and so the
Yeah,
momentum continues to roll, and I think she's going to do just fine. I think people are
it is.
catching steam, and of course,
Okay.
the public
Yeah.
media are finding those fringe folks. Like the Black Republicans, they're going to always try to find one or two. They're going to try to find a
Oh,
young
yeah.
person
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
like democracy is still evading us.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling as I watch and see, I think the momentum is coming, and we'll
I
talk
think.
about
I
this, and
think.
we'll
Yeah.
go on,
I just
go
want
on.
to say this, though. I think because the Democrats, we're known to be a crazy bunch, but there's just no time for dissension. Our
Yeah.
backs are against the wall. But what it does set up a model for this. Maybe we shouldn't have 18-month presidential campaigns. Maybe we should just have it over the summer. It's a lull time anyway. It certainly woke us up.
Well, I think there's something to consider. And I want to share a couple of other things to consider on the other side of our break. This is the All Rev'd Up podcast, a special episode coming out of the Democratic National Convention. And we'll be right back.
I just bless her. I hope she's just smiling down on this. And listen, this book, okay, this is back in the day when it was 95 cents. But has always this has always been my Bible. And when she signed it, I was just in glee. So really, this is her legacy. This is showing really proof positive of her legacy.
Well,
I'm
let's
just
listen.
happy.
Let's listen to her speak. Let's let our listeners hear the sound of Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm as she declares her candidacy for president in 1972.
Yeah.
I stand before you today as a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the presidency of the United States of America. I am not the candidate of Black America, although I am Black and proud. I am not the candidate of the women's movement of this country, although I am a woman, and I'm equally proud of that. I am not the candidate of any political bosses or fat cats or special interests.
Wow, Irene. Wow. I have chills for two reasons. One, that was us 4 years ago, right? But then also to hear the
Yeah.
voice of the Congresswoman, Shirley Anita Chisholm. Wow. She was somebody who you were around and who inspired you. Talk about the parallel between her then and now Kamala Harris now.
Absolutely. But let me just say this. We called her Miss C. I just want people to know what an inspiration she was, because it was someone like
Mhm.
Shirley Chisholm to say, I can be somebody too. I need to just say Shirley Chisholm was no more than 5 feet 2 inches tall. Really, a slender woman who spoke with a lisp, dark skinned like I am. And it was and representing the underrepresented in Bed-Stuy as well as Brownsville. And as a kid, she got us to do, and she really did tell us the importance of voting. This is why I even when there's small, campaigns going on in Cambridge, I will go and vote because of the stamp, the indelible stamp she has, impressed upon me here. But let me tell you about that night. I loved the night when she came out. Then this is Kamala. So she
Yes.
did a couple of things. She came out as the prosecutor. She came out to make her case. She didn't wear suffragette white that a lot of the women in the audience was wearing, and certainly Hillary wore the first night, and many of the women the night of Kamala coming out. She didn't talk about race or gender, and I thought that was clever. It's not about erasing the two of them, but it's very, very
Mhm.
obvious that she's a woman of color. You know, and I also like the fact that when she came out as the prosecutor, she eradicated instantaneously all the rumors and concerns whether she was the San Francisco radical, leftist, because San Francisco has this kind of hippie vibe from back in the day. Oh my goodness. Did she go? I mean, she litigated the case here and talking about what America would be like under Trump. She was phenomenal,
You
absolutely
know,
phenomenal.
she was phenomenal. There's no question. I have one little thing that may not be so little for some people. We saw the varying polemics or the binaries of the Democratic Party. We saw the conservative Democrats, we saw the progressive Democrats, we saw the liberal Democrats. I think second to Michelle Obama's speech, AOC's speech, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was one of the best
Hmm.
speeches there. Um, what what I missed though,
Oh
particularly with
my.
all the protesting that was going on outside the convention around the war in Gaza, I didn't hear the voice of the Palestinians, of the
The
Muslims.
voices.
We didn't hear those voices. We heard, Schumer got up
That's
there,
right.
and of course, Kamala Harris's husband,
Right.
Doug Emhoff, got up there. But I that was a missing voice for me, Irene.
That was a misstep. No, that was a that and it was excuse me. And that was a deliberate not even a misstep. That was an intentional, how do I best say it? It was intentional. Let me leave it at that. And so what is problematic is that it was a deliberate erasure of Palestinian stories, presence, and voices, and as if to say there was not only this protest going on outside of the DNC, but the war that is continually going on. I think that she could have addressed the issue around, is this
Mhm.
genocide? Is it not? How do you define this moment? And since you are Biden's right hand man, you had you had a lot of inside information to deliver to us that many of us are in a cloud about this
Yes.
issue here. It has divided the nation, and to not talk about it brings it even that much more to the fore. See, to not talk about it, even to me, more resoundingly says there's a
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah,
she
and I
did
think
not
that was,
go there.
I appreciate your commentary on it, your reflection on that. I was sitting there, for the few nights, and I said, "Oh, are we going to get?" I mean, because I'm amazed. You have former
Right?
Trump Republicans. like on the stage talking about January 6th and their reflection on being in that moment. So you have done a great job, canvassing and bringing in the various segments of America so that you can have representation, and we missed that segment. And so that was a faux pas.
Yeah, I just want to say one other thing about that here.
Yes.
So you know this race is going to be tight, and we now know at this point we can say that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., thank God, has dropped. Okay, has left. But we need to get votes where we can get them, and because of the Israeli Hamas controversy, we are losing a wide swath, not only of
Yes.
Muslim but others,
Yes.
people who align with this, with this cause here. And it troubled me watching the RNC, that not troubled me, but you had a kid from Columbia who talked about what it was to be at Columbia, during this time. And I
Yes.
felt that, what, a nice counterpoint would have been
Yes.
to get a Columbia student, Palestinian student, to give that point of view, particularly since the week before
Yeah.
the president of Colombia has resigned. So it's there. It's very much there. So that was my problem about that. And she should know better than anyone that she can't speak for a group of people. We always argue about that. You cannot speak. You cannot be that person. And so I just felt and I felt this. Even if there were people
That's
there
right.
that booed, at least you gave it an opportunity. But we do have a
Yeah.
Palestinian
Yeah.
person. She's part of the Quad. That and that we did not see her. We did not see her do. But let me just say this, because I wear glasses. Okay, I did not see her during the roll call. The roll call. So that was very, very problematic. And we must see what happens with this. But I want to get back to her capabilities. One of the things that has been argued is, that whole notion of that 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock call in the morning, would she be ready? Let me just say it how the sisters say it, or how Tiffany
She
Haddish would
ready.
say
She
it.
ready.
She ready. She ready.
I think you're
She
so
ready.
right. I would have loved to hear Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, the Congresswoman from Minnesota, to speak. And so,
Oh
we
God.
touched on that. There are two precious moments that I got to mention before we throw to you for the benediction. The two precious moments. First, Vice President Kamala Harris's nieces come out to teach us how to say her name right. That was
Oh,
precious. They were with Kerry Washington, the phenomenal actress from Scandal and so many other things, and they were so cute.
Thank you, ladies.
Right, right.
oh, it's
They
not
were so
Kamala.
cute.
It's not
So that
Kamala.
was one
Okay.
precious moment that I just totally enjoyed. The
Oh
second
yeah.
was when Coach Walls' family were up there and his son said, "That's my dad."
Oh
Oh
God.
my
Gus.
goodness. Wasn't that a moment?
Overjoyed. Overjoyed. Yeah, that absolutely. And he's a teenager, and I just need to say this. And amen. You can say amen to this one. When
Yeah.
your teenage children like you, okay, okay, when
Yes.
they like and show
Oh
that
my
like
goodness.
publicly,
Those
oh,
two
that's a
precious
home
moments.
run.
And
That's
if
a
I
home.
had to put a third, my favorite poetess who is out there, Amanda Gorman. Oh
Oh, wasn't
my
she?
God. I mean,
Oh God.
oh my God. I mean,
And how she
whoa. I
matured.
mean,
Oh
so those are
my
my
God.
top three.
Yeah,
Irene,
yeah,
this has been a
yeah.
phenomenal special episode. I'm so glad that it was your idea to do it. This time I agreed. And so I'm so excited. The benediction is all yours.
I'm
I
so
know.
glad that you
I know.
acquiesced, but how could you? I mean, we all were joyful. It's the week has
Yes.
just given us great hope moving forward here. So let me just begin by saying that Obama was the president of hope. Kamala Harris will be the president of joy. Psalms 30, verse 5, was recited several times during the DNC, which says, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning." This energy we derive from joy must be put into action. It can only work if we work together. As Kamala said, we are a people-powered campaign. And that's because the power of the people is far greater than the people trying to seize our power. But we need to show up and show out this November. We must get the vote out. Democracy can only begin to work when those relegated to the fringes of society can begin to sample what those in society take for granted as their inalienable right. While division abounds among us, may we be bold and courageous enough to chart a better future for ourselves and the nation. But we must get out the vote. We have to do what Congressman Hakeem Jeffries advised. Strategize for success on Monday, meet the moment on Tuesday, take it to them on Wednesday, overcome obstacles on Thursday, execute with precision on Friday, finish strong on Saturday, reflect and recharge on Sunday, and do it all over again come Monday. Ashe,
Ashe.
and amen.
Amen. All Rev'd Up is brought to you by us, the Revs. Our amazing producers are Kyla Wright and Cavante Smalls.
Music for this episode is from Reverend Price's son and musical prodigy Emmett G. Price IV. All Rev'd Up is distributed by GBH.
Additional thanks to Bob Kempf, Elizabeth O'Brien, May He, Devin Robbins, Meredith Neerman, and Zach Waldman.
If you like what you hear, let us know. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts and follow us at All Rev'd Up Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Feel free to send us a note, a question, or a comment to allrevduppod@gmail.com. We'll be back